It is 18 minutes, 10 past 5, and it is time for us to get into Business Hub on Smooth 98.1, your love music, love life station. And today on Business Hub, well, we'll be taking a look at the telecom sector and what exactly we're talking about. Well, we're taking a look at boosting Nigeria's telco sector's GDP contribution from where it is now to about 25%. And having this conversation with me is my guest in the person of Moyosore Taiwo. He is a research analyst at ARM Securities. Good evening to you, Moyosore.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
All right. And you can be a part of Business Hub this evening. You can share your thoughts and questions that you have regarding the conversation we'll be having this evening on 0809 4440981. That's the number to share your thoughts on WhatsApp and get into the conversation. All right. The telecom sector is looking like we need some push in the right direction, right? But I know that presently the government is looking at ways to increase it. It is presently at 14%, but they're looking at how they can boost it to 25%. Is this something that's realistic, or are we just aiming for the sky?
Yeah, thank you again for having me on the call. The issues we are currently facing, or the telecom operators are currently facing, say, multifaceted issue, and it ranges from, vandalism of their infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
foreign exchange challenges, inflationary pressure. So basically, it's an issue that, you know requires hands-on involvement from the government regulators and industry participants alike. And just giving some more context to the trend over the years, we saw that at least 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
NBS data shows that telco contributed about 8.27% to overall output in first quarter of 2014, and compared to 4 years later in 2018, where it contributed to about 9.19%, and now about 14% in 2024. So just having that time frame in mind shows that getting to 25% from current 14% would require a massive amount of investments, and attracting investments of that nature typically would require you to fix your domestic macros, that's your inflation, exchange rate, and others, and also create a business-friendly environment.
Mm.
So basically, I would just say, it's realistic if over, it's realistic in the medium to long term if we're able to fix our macros and just create a business-friendly environment.
Okay, so if we actually create a business-friendly environment, we can actually mark up to the 25% that the government is looking to achieve, right?
Yeah, yeah,
However,
yeah, absolutely.
mm, I know that you spoke earlier regarding having more people in this sector. Do you think that we can get there without having to add so many more, uh, you know, not just people, but companies to this, telco sector? At the moment, we have a handful, let me put it that way. I don't want to give numbers, but we have a handful of people in this sector. Do you think by adding more to them, it will make it more lucrative? You will have more investors as well who would, barring first off, I know you spoke of the infrastructural deficits that also are plaguing them at the moment. You also spoke about the funds, them trying to repatriate their funds to some of the other countries that they reside in. And as a result of that, some have also left prior to now. So do you think if we have more people in the sector, it will balance out more or less?
I think for me, I would say competition is very key, and once an industry is expanding, that attracts interest from a lot of players, right? And the government also would want competition, because when you have competition, that brings about innovation. Innovation also brings about efficiency, and when you now have an efficiency, that just it just helps the industry achieve an optimal level of output. So, basically, yes, I would say we can,
Okay.
but as the industry continues to grow, as
Mm,
the government, you know, continues to put a hands-on approach to helping sector players operate sustainably, right? We would that would also help attract more people into the sector and help boost competition, and that would also help with costs, and help us and generally lower costs for the end users, like you and I.
mm. I like the fact that you put you and I in this sector because we are the ones that, at the end of the day, if we're not using this, it wouldn't even it wouldn't even be a thing. But talking about you and I, at when we have about just 200 million Nigerians who are connected, who have their lines connected, right? But apparently there are more than half of them that are still using 2G network. So can you speak to this and how this is supposed to affect or make it increase productivity or connectivity for the telcos?
Okay, I'll just say, so it's it's tough because we saw the last results that MTN released. They talked about how they would um reduce the level of growth of their capital expenditure just generally due to the current business environment, right? So typically we historically we've seen aggressive expansion by the players in that market in to
Mm-hmm.
capture that market. And the report a report by NCC, that's the regulator, last year
Mm-hmm.
said that about 40% of our
Mm.
population has access to broadband internet. So definitely there's a lot of gap that can be filled.
Okay.
And so just speaking to the point I made earlier on addressing our macroeconomic issues. So if we can address the exchange rate woes that we've been seeing in recent history, as well as topple the inflationary pressures we've been seeing as well. We would definitely then see more opportunities pop up for these telco guys to draw in more customers or subscribers.
Hmm. All right. So while we're on this conversation, can you talk more about the cost of actually doing business faced by these players in the telco? I know that you've spoken about the foreign exchange being a problem. We've also spoken about how they've also their facilities have been vandalized from time to time. But what other things are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, in addition to exchange rate issues and inflation that generally affects the cost of operation, I would say, energy prices as well. We've
Mm,
seen, diesel prices, pretty much skyrockets in the past year. According to
hmm.
MBS, it has risen by an annual rate of 6%, right? And while we have seen efforts from players in the industry to adopt solar energy or alternative sources of energy,
Yeah.
a majority of their critical infrastructure still runs on diesel. So that's a major cost point for these players as well.
Mm. I couldn't agree more with you on that one because when you factor in how many base points they have and how they need to make sure that it is on 247, having to pay for diesel,
Yeah,
having to make sure that
yeah,
there's also security on ground because talking about the vandalism aspect, that is another case in its own. But hey, I guess they'll be able to
yeah.
find a way around it eventually. So, um, in that, do you agree? Do you also agree with them that they need to raise their prices?
That's a
Oh,
tough one because my opinion, I would say a balance has to be struck
okay.
because telcos definitely have to operate sustainably, and if they don't operate sustainably, if you're not profitable
Mm-hmm.
then basically your business cannot survive, right? So, but then there's also the point of the declining consumer purchasing power that we've seen, inflation, you know, over 30% now, and basically we're facing it, we're having it tough from all angles, right? And any additional constraints, could pose serious risk to standard of living of consumers. So these are things the government, or stakeholders and as a whole are considering, when engaging the operators on whether or not, a tariff increase should be allowed. So I think it should be a discussion that should be done on an ongoing basis in order to determine like an equilibrium point.
I like the fact that you said that is a discussion that should be ongoing because if if the consumer has to also be taking in all this, something that we're buying or having to pay next to nothing for, and then you are hearing, I cannot even buy this, I cannot even get
Yeah,
the data that I need. A lot of people will start to say, okay, I'm not sure I even need this any longer. So don't you think that
yeah.
that's also going to affect them in the long run?
Yeah, it's definitely so. I think it definitely will, but they are also considering the current, environment they are facing. Like I
Okay.
mentioned, last year they saw those FX losses, which pretty much wiped out their shareholders, capital. So, they are considering tariffs as a way to survive this current environment. But in the long
Mm,
run, as things begin to balance out, my guess is that they will adjust, adjust to current realities in order to, to be profitable as well as have cost and not to lose too much of their market share, I would say.
mm. All right, but we'll be talking more about that. Talking about the pricing, and as they say, there are two sides of a coin, right? We'll talk more about how the government is also going to play its own role with regarding pricing, but we'll do that after this quick breather. Lagos and going nowhere, stay tuned to Smooth 98.1.
8.1. Love music, love life. Extraordinary.
Just a quick. Welcome. And under 1 minute, and we're back.
We are your dynamic non-interest
Okay.
bank that truly cares about your financial progress. If you desire ethical prosperity, our project finance, small business facilities, individual savings products, and electronic banking solutions are carefully tailored to provide you with superior banking experience delivered in the most ethical and responsible manner. As Lotus Bank, it is partnership for progress. We share your risks and profit, making it a must win for all. Open a Lotus Bank account today or use any cashless platform, ATMs, mobile banking, or internet banking to enjoy seamless transactions. Contact our 24/7 call center. Dial 07000 Lotus Bank, which is 07000 or visit www.lotusbank.com. Lotus Bank. Partner. Progress. Prosper.
If music is the food of the soul, Smooth FM is my favorite diner.
The record once a day or as needed. Your faith on fresh news. All that you need for that charity hope. Drive on 98.1.
All right, it is 33 minutes gone past 5, and you're still tuned into Smooth 98.1. And this is Business Hub. On Business Hub today, we are discussing about the boost in the telco sector and looking at it. It was previously or presently it's at 14%, but well, the government is also looking at how they can boost that sector and increase it to about 25%. And having this conversation with me is none other than Moyosore Taiwo. He's a research analyst at ARM Securities. And he's been, giving us insight into how the telco sector can improve and the things that needs to be done for it to get to that point. But earlier on, we're talking about how the consumers can also be affected in this aspect. And I also spoke about how the government can also play its own role in this. But really, does the government have any right in allowing the price increase to uh, impact the consumer at any point in time? Because earlier on, you spoke about how NCC also is there to protect the consumer, but will they also be there to help the telcos as well? Is there a balance? Do they are they the referee more or less to, cushion things?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I would say, that's basically been the point of contention for him for a while now,
Okay.
where the telco operators, was actively pushing for tariff increases, but the government slash regulator is responding, saying, not so fast, right? So we both know that the primary focus of the government is the welfare of the people, and while creating an enabling business environment is key, for
Mm-hmm.
them, to attract businesses, it typically should not be to the detriment of consumers. So I foresee that the government would continue to engage with these telco operators, and their focus will most likely be for them to seek other alternatives, before arriving at a definite tariff increase.
Okay. Well, as they say, most people are in business to actually make a profit, and even if they're going to be making a profit, it's not going to be at the detriment of their customers. Do you also see
Yeah.
that? Do you also think that at some point in time there might be some reduction in the services that we're getting at the moment? Maybe might not be so great with regards to the network. Well, some people have already been complaining as it is that
Yeah.
the services they're getting right now isn't as premium as it
Yeah.
used to be. So is that something we'll be experiencing until they're able to get the pricing right and they're able to increase their tariffs in general?
Yeah, I think that's something we've already been seeing implicitly, for a while now. We've been seeing it and it's not peculiar to telcos, peculiar across other sectors.
Okay.
When you buy biscuit and you see that there's one piece that's missing. So
Mm.
it's just a way of trying to survive, basically,
Okay.
this harsh climate. So I
Mm.
agree with you. It will definitely be seen, rather than an improvement, just, um, we'll be seeing telcos just basically sweating or optimizing the use of their current assets rather than, investing more in, better assets.
I like how you said optimizing. So for you who is using your data now and you're wondering, okay, how come at a certain point in time I was able to spend so and so amount to get so much data and it will serve me for even a longer period. Say you would even be able to take it to the next month. Now you find out that you buy that same amount of data, and within 2 weeks,
Yeah.
it's as if
Yeah.
someone is just it's not sucking it with a straw now. Is this person is just gulping it like in so that is just better to mind that if you want more service, you have to pay more for those services. Well, everybody wants profit at the end of the day. But we're hoping that, like you said, the consumer
Yeah.
price regulator will also see how they can create a balance so that this telco companies will also see some profit at the end of the day, because having to spend
Absolutely.
like you said, on infrastructure, security, having to buy diesel and all what have you, can actually take its toll on them. But yes, actually, there's something that I want us to take a look at, and that is regarding the job employment sector with telcos, right? So in some climes we've seen that AI is taking over some of these jobs, but I'm asking now in Nigeria, do you think that there will be more job opportunities, or do you think that those telcos will be able to create more job opportunities than we already have right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, I mentioned earlier that, NCC, according to reports that they released
Mm,
last year, they claim that only 40% of the Nigerian population has access to internet services. So, basically there's a 60%,
yeah.
target market for this.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's 6 point gap, right? So, and that would involve, building more towers, having more data centers,
Hmm.
having more customer service centers as well. Selling more routers. So that just those are job opportunities in itself, right? People who
Mm,
are going to be involved in receiving the calls, customer service agents.
hmm.
You know. Even on the for example, the Momo leg, the fintech by MTN, they also
Hmm.
have agents. So if they're going to have to reach areas like that, you have to hire more agents. So there's a vast opportunity that has been untapped largely, and this is
Okay.
recognized by pretty much all operators, right? It's just you know just trying to basically survive this current environment before that's the FX issues we're currently facing. When
Hmm.
in a period where we have stable exchange rates, then we'll most likely see them step up their expansion game.
Mm. And looking at expansion, you've seen them also delve into, some have delved into health insurance, some are looking at how to make sure that, well, they're tapping into every society. In every nook and cranny, you can actually find them and make sure that
Yes.
even with the littlest thing, you can afford their
Yeah,
network and be, hey,
yeah.
you're good to go. All right, that's actually a great one to actually look forward to. And I'm talking about the job sector because, hey, it- if they can create more jobs, we'll have less people on the roads, and we have we'll have everybody get going home with something to rely on. And even if the
Mhm.
economy and inflation is going up, there'll be something to look forward to at the end of the day. All right. But I
Yeah.
want to know, what's your perspective with regarding the Jackpa, yes, air quote, situation, and how it has impacted the skilled workers. I'm not talking about just the regular workers. I'm actually talking about the skilled workers in the telco sector, because at some point it seemed like, I know for some in the banking sector, it affected them. So, but if we have to talk about the telco sector, what's the effect, and how far reaching is this?
I think I'll just say
This one you took a
honestly
pause
that
there.
no, I was just thinking about how it's not peculiar to telcos. I think no one has been spared, honestly.
Okay,
From the medical sector to banking, like you mentioned, to
indeed.
telcos.
Hmm.
Everyone has really felt the impact of the wave, and typically it's because of the low confidence, right, that people generally have, or have had, in the system. I would
Hmm.
say so. It's not. I would not say it's peculiar to telcos. I think
Okay.
it's far-reaching. But I think on terms of the impact on telcos, I think like everyone, they'll just have to be
Brace
they
up.
just have to adapt, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, brace up, and be able to be leaner and be more efficient. Just do more with with fewer people, and just be more efficient, and also pay the employees better, the ones that are left anyway.
Ah, if you say that we pay the ones that are left, how do we now bring them, the ones that are up and coming? What do we need to do to make that feel more attractive to them? Aside just the pay, what other things can the telco sector also do to make the workers come back to Nigeria and be able to, work in this sector as well? Probably even other sectors, but hey, let's even start with the
Yeah,
telcos.
I mean, I think it's honestly, it's not their job to say. I would say it's the government, so it's the reason
Okay.
why they're leaving is not because the telco sector is it's bad or anything. They're leaving because the outlook on the Nigerian economy is not as favorable as it used to be. So
Okay.
a lot of people, when you ask them, they'll say they're looking to go for greener pastures in quotes, right? So if in order to attract more people, I would say that the
Mm-hmm.
government has to work hard to restore the confidence of people, be more transparent, be more accountable, and
Right.
and also just generally um create an equitable, a fair system where everyone can go about their business without being afraid to be discriminated against, or just create an equitable society where everyone has a fair chance of succeeding, and you will definitely see more people coming back.
All right, that's actually good to know. Okay, and what's your outlook for the telco during the second half of the year? What do you project in your own opinion? Do you see um any beautiful skies, any updates that we need to be working with, or is it the same way we started? Is the same way we're going?
No, I think if you look at how the exchange rate has moved in the past month or a bit more, we've
Hmm.
seen that the exchange rate has been a bit stable. So it has, rather than the volatility that we saw in the, I think, January to March or early April, it bodes well
Okay.
for telcos because much of last year, their profitability was impacted by those bad, FX losses as a result of the large swing in naira, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stable exchange rates and just like I mentioned earlier, being cost efficient,
Mm-hmm.
optimizing the use of their current assets, and a stable exchange rate. So we believe that would bode positively, for these operators. But also, when you have a positive outlook, you should also have risk, and our risk would be that we would see inflation moving faster than, and also seeing that exchange rates volatility return, and that would definitely bode um poorly for the operators in the sector.
Mm.
But in general sense, just overall, I'll just say it's positive. You know, it's
We're
positive.
looking at positivity for the telco sector. Hmm. All right. Thank you so much for sharing all that insight this evening. However, how can people reach out to you on your social media handles? Say they want to, ask you certain things in private. How can they reach out to you?
Um, I don't I don't. I mean, I have. I'm sorry. I don't know. So sometimes I think I'm, even though I'm a Gen Z, I think I'm now because I'm not really on social media like that. But I have a LinkedIn, which is just my search. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting. As they say, the Gen Zs are the ones who are woke and are everywhere, but there's some Gen Zs that just want to be, all about work and face my fronts.
yeah.
All right. So on LinkedIn, how can they reach out to you? How can they get across to you?
So it's just Moyosore Taiwo.
All
Moyosore
right.
Taiwo.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you
I
so
can just
much
send a
for
message.
all that insight today. And I trust you have yourself a very cool evening, barring the rains and everything else. And I hope you get home safe. That's important.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much for joining me this evening.
Thank
And
you.
thank you
Thank you
as
for
well.
having me.
All right. My pleasure. All right, Lagos, thank you as well for joining in on Business Hub this evening. And it actually comes your way every Tuesday. So next week, Tuesday, will be another opportunity for you to get into insight on what's happening in the business world. But in the meantime, we'll have so much more music lined up for you. So as usual, don't go nowhere. Stay tuned to Smooth 98.1.